conference will now be recorded.
It's a little delay, yes.
Clock on the dot. We will call this meeting to order. We'll do a flag salute and moment of silence.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Karen, sunshine statement and roll call.
Sure. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting has been given by filing written notice with the Township governing body and the Township clerk, mailing written notice to the Township official newspapers and the Township website, posting written notice on the official bulletin board in the Chesterfield Township Municipal Building, and providing notice to all who requested same. Ms. Batra?
Here.
Ms. Codestale?
Here.
Mr. Lika?
Here.
Mr. Panfili is not here, and Ms. Hughes.
Are there any agenda matters or refusal for the workshop?
None.
None. We're going to move into our fire district referendum discussion. Our chief is here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your service. We appreciate your time tonight. Thank you to the residents who came. I'm glad that we have a good turnout. It's a very important issue. I'm going to save my comments for after the chief's presentation. I've asked him to keep it under a half hour so that we have time for question and discussions. If we think that it's going to go longer, respectfully, I may ask you to come back because I do want to stop this at 7 so that we can get into our regular meeting. And with that, I will turn it over to you.
To introduce myself real quick, my name is Ryan Lynch. I'm the chief of Chesterfield Township Fire District Number 1. To my left here is Commissioner Migliaccio. He's the treasurer. There was a clerical error. The budget timelines line up with the reorganization meeting, so our budget actually says a different name on it, but it is Commissioner Migliaccio is our treasurer. So thank you for allowing me the time to speak today. Today's presentation.
Ryan, can you just pull that microphone a little closer?
No problem. And can you click slideshow on that?
Yep.
Upper right corner.
They should be. They're saying, I haven't figured that out. I would think they'd be able to say.
All right, so thank you for allowing me time to speak today. Today's presentation is simple. State law limits our tax levy increase to 2%. If we stay under 2%, then there's no vote on the budget, but we are looking to exceed the 2%. The cost of maintaining reliable 24/7 fire protection is going to exceed that cap. We've been using savings to bridge the gap, but the amount we're pulling from fund balance is increasing rapidly, and it's not sustainable. The main drivers are unavoidable overtime caused by FLSA standards, as well as rising firefighter healthcare costs. The referendum allows us to hire 2 firefighters, reduce overtime dramatically, stabilize staffing, and protect long-term service. This will be for about $21 extra a month on top of your the levy now. That's based upon a $400,000 home. I will talk about the problem we're experiencing, our history up to this point, how this problem came to be, and the solution. And just click on the screen. So why this vote matters, like I said, our levy cap is limited to 2%. Anything beyond that, we'd have to go to a referendum. We're rapidly using our savings, and we're having the overtime before we even start because of FLSA. And I'll talk about the number of hours that firefighters are required to work. Adding 2 firefighters reduces overtime, improves safety, and even with this increase, our 2026 tax rate remain competitive with other fire districts in the area that employ 24-hour staffing. Yes vote will ensure reliable 24/7 emergency response and long-term stability. Click. So in 2025, we used 117,604 fund balance to stay under 2% levy cap. If we were to do that again in 2026, it would require 188,844 fund balance to stay under that cap, and we need voter approval in order to exceed that. Like I said, the firefighter overtime and health insurance is what's driving that cost. But we're also experiencing rising costs, as I'm sure you guys are as well, across all areas of the budget, which include apparatus repairs, general liabilities, worker comp insurance, materials, and supplies. Typically, we'd be able to take money from one area of the budget that's experiencing a surplus to balance out an area where we're overrunning, but we just don't have the ability to do that anymore. Click again. One more time.
So good or go more?
One more.
Okay.
All right, what we need. We're asking that the taxpayers approve a tax levy increase of $359,604. And what this would get is 2 new firefighter positions for $90,760, health benefits for those new firefighters, as well as covering increasing healthcare costs that we're seeing for our existing firefighters at $168,844. This would increase the 2025 tax rate of 0.189 that we had last year to 0.252 for every $100 of assessed value in 2026. If we were to stay within the 2% budget, it should be around 0.209 if we were to do that. Click. So how would this affect a assessed home around 400,000? And this is an arbitrary number. We picked this number based upon a 2024 average assessed value according to New Jersey Department of Treasury, which was $390,034. So it'll end up being about $21 extra per month, or extra $252 per year. That $756 tax levy for the fire district you would have saw in 2025 would increase to $1,000 and $1,008. You click. So why does this vote have to be held on a Saturday in February? The short answer here is it's state law. Sometimes we get some feedback that there's the appearance of either nefarious action or intent by putting it on a random Saturday in February. But if we hold our annual election in November, which we did change to in order to increase voter turnout, then state law actually dictates that if we exceed our budget, the actual budget referendum would be on the third Saturday in September from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. Click. So our history, how did we get here? Over the past 20 years, the fire district has repeatedly adapted to declining volunteer availability. From 2004 to 2007, we added daytime firefighters as volunteerism declined. 2015, we applied for and received a SAFER grant to try and recruit and retain volunteers. We did see a temporary improvement with that. You go back. Back.
I can't see which way I'm going. I'm just,
Yeah.
it's not giving me choices.
You hit escape. Scroll up. Click on that one that has a bar graph there. Yep. The spreadsheet.
Okay.
You can go into that.
Slideshow.
Yep. Slideshow. Click. Click. All right. 2017 and 2019, we did some staffing adjustments. We added a single firefighter to maintain response coverage when volunteerism's declined. Basically what we did, we took 2 firefighters off of our day shift and made them 24-hour firefighters. And then we just needed 2 additional volunteer firefighters to respond at night. In 2019, both fire districts kind of recognized that we had declining volunteer pools as well as disparate tax levies, and District 2 was kind of not paying for the career coverage, and District 1 was subsidizing them. So we elected to consolidate our fire districts and bring our volunteer pools together. We did see a short-term benefit from that, but by 2021, calls were still not being answered. Fund balance was used to add a career firefighter. This was our 7th career firefighter, allowing 2 firefighters to work 24/7 and 1 firefighter to work daytime. At that point, we only needed 1 volunteer on nights and weekends, but unfortunately that too fell short. And in 2023, we asked the voters in a levy cap referendum to hire 3 additional career firefighters, which they did. So our response rates pre-2023, we had 84.77% in 2019, 74.12% in 2020, and we were down to just about 2/3 in 2022. It meant we were scratching about 1/3 of our calls, not able to respond. For perspective, NFPA 1720, which that's the National Fire Protection Association, their recommendation for a combination department would be to respond to at least 90% of calls for service, and we were obviously falling short of that mark. So in 2023, we asked the taxpayers to increase our tax levy by $257,998 in order to hire 3 firefighters. And the voters approved that plan, and it worked. And then volunteer staffing kind of declined further. So what we did then was we had our staffing raised to 10 firefighters. and that allowed us to go to a 3-platoon system, which I'll explain what platoons are on the next slide, of 3 career firefighters, and there was a 4th career firefighter that was supposed to be working Monday through Friday. So we'd have 4 during the day and 3 on nights and weekends, which was supposed to be supplemented by a duty crew program that we had at the time. And this was the most economical way to staff. We didn't want to ask for too much at that moment. Click. So how does our 3-platoon system work? Each platoon works 24 hours. It's followed by 24 hours off, and this repeats until the 3rd 24-hour shift that they work, and then they have 4 days off. The shifts are staggered so that only one shift is working at a time while the others are resting. So now the career volunteer or the career work, where the volunteers go. So volunteers leave for a variety of reasons: life changes, careers, families, relocation, aging out, lengthy retraining requirements. To get a firefighter in the door and able to actually contribute meaningfully as a structural firefighter requires going to a full semester course, which is about 212 hours. So that for us, that's where our largest bottleneck is maintaining engagement until that point. Many of our most active career firefighters are also hired as, most active volunteer firefighters are actually hired as career firefighters, which is good that we are training excellent volunteers, but when they're hired as career firefighters, it usually means they can no longer volunteer with us. So we end up back where we were. We had 18 Chesterfield volunteers hired as career firefighters in the last 10 years, which is a pretty significant figure. What we've done to try to combat this is we had the Safer Recruitment and Retention Grant. We tried direct mailers, open houses, community outreach. We have low staff incentives and pay-per-call programs to try and incentivize volunteers to respond. But the reality is these efforts produced short-term gains and didn't reverse our long-term trend that we were experiencing. It continued to decline. It's not to say that we aren't proud of our volunteers, because we definitely are. But today's emergency response, we can't rely on volunteer availability anymore. One more click. The 2024 model, unfortunately, we could not sustain that volunteer duty crew program. So we ended up moving that one daytime firefighter to a 24-hour shift. It was still 10 career firefighters, still 3 platoons, but it allowed us an extra 312 hours of overtime coverage, because career firefighters are allowed to, the 3-platoon system staffs for 2,912 hours versus 2,600, which is where we staff for daytime. And we'll get into FLSA in a minute here. One more click, yep. So back to the problems, firefighter overtime. Why overtime has become unavoidable. Chesterfield Township Fire District is a combination department. Volunteer response declined. We went from 3 firefighters to 10 firefighters, allowed us to guarantee 24/7 response with a minimum of 3 firefighters on duty at all times. That worked, but it creates structurally built-in overtime even before unexpected absences occur. Click. Firefighters are permitted by the Fair Labor and Standards Act, FLSA, to work up to 2,756 hours per year. The 3-platoon system, although requiring fewer firefighters than a 4-platoon system, causes the firefighters to work 2,912 hours per year. So we're required to compensate them for the 156 hours or so. The math is wrong, but required to compensate them for the additional time over the 2,756. So firefighters in this situation are generally either given built-in overtime or they're scheduled in time off. But for us, we have to give them built-in overtime because scheduling time off for the firefighters would be logistically impractical, and it would cause overtime to self-propagate because whenever somebody's out, we have to have somebody in on 2/3 of the shifts. So overtime in 2025, the numbers show our system's no longer sustainable. In 2025, the district paid $60,621 in built-in overtime. That's against a total overtime budget of $100,000, leaving only about $40,000 for all of their overtime needs, which would include any time off for vacation, sick, injury, if we need to call people back because we have a structure fire or something like that. But the real issue is only 2 of our 3 shifts staff. On 2 of our 3 shifts, we staff only 3 firefighters, which means that whenever anybody is off on those shifts, we have to fill it with overtime to maintain a minimum staffing of 3 firefighters. The 3rd shift has 4 firefighters, so it doesn't have to occur on that shift. The result was 2,385 overtime hours in 2025, which ran over about 107,000 on our overtime budget. You click, oh, let's stay on that one. So our solution, if we hire 2 firefighters, it stabilizes our staffing and reduces overtime dramatically. The most effective solution is to add 1 firefighter to each of the 3 person shifts, which will bring all of our shifts to 4 firefighters for a total of 12 career firefighters. Why does this work? We already have 1 shift with 4 firefighters, and in 2025, that 4-person shift was able to cover 985 hours of time off, meaning a firefighter was on vacation or sick or had personal time, by temporarily dropping to a minimum staffing of 3. If we apply that same model to the other 2 shifts, overtime would drop by about 1,970 hours, which would be an 82.5% reduction. The estimated 2026 overtime would be about 416 hours. An average of about $40 an hour equates to $16,600. What other solutions work? Could we just increase the overtime budget? This would be similar to treating a symptom rather than a problem, and also ignores another added benefit, which is to a lot of people more important, health and safety. Ensuring that all shifts have 4 firefighters will also bring us closer to meeting NFPA standards. NFPA 1710 is the standard for organization and deployment of career fire departments. You click. Yep, stay on that one. What does the NFPA recommend and who are they? The National Fire Protection Association is a standard setting organization. They're not an enforcing agency, but many of their standards become referenced by law. Specifically, 1710 recommends all engines be staffed by at least 4 firefighters. And we do not achieve this at least 66% of the time. And adding 2 firefighters would bring us closer to that standard, although we would still drop to a minimum of 3 whenever anybody is off. Our firefighters, they each worked an average of 238.5 hours of overtime in 2025, which basically equates to 10 extra days at work. That's a lot to ask of anybody, for time away from their family and stress relief. They start each year by being scheduled to work, at least for 1/3 of it. Adding additional overtime hours results in less time for family self-care, stress release. And when a fire attack is necessary, the 3 firefighter crew is also limited and must work harder to achieve its goals. There was a National Institute of Standards study that showing a 4 firefighter crew is about 30% more effective than a 3 firefighter crew on achieving fire round goals, about 7 minutes faster. If you try to stretch a hose line into a building, having 2 guys is tough. Having 3 guys is a lot easier. It's kind of stretch your garden hose through your yard, snaking through fences or whatnot. It ends up getting stuck. This is important considering that fire growth accelerates rapidly in the first few minutes. So now onto our insurance problem. It's no secret that health insurance costs have steadily gone up. The state is allowing approximately a 36% exemption on growth. Unfortunately, it's not enough to cover our increases. The reasons for this, our fire district has developed into a good place to work. Firefighters are staying, which is good for the safety of both our residents and them. However, that means firefighters that we had hired under 26 years old who didn't want health insurance are now taking single plans. Firefighters are on single plans, are getting married, and firefighters are having children and moving to family plans. These are the costs of the insurance plans. Family plan is $68,596.56, so it's a significant increase. Click. Could we simply contract with another fire department? Not likely and not simply. Chesterfield Township is 21.45 square miles. Approximately 1/3 is serviced by fire hydrants and 2/3 is not. The sheer size and geographic shape of our town would make it difficult to contract for services with a level of efficiency better than our current service. And we were part of our mutual aid partners' plans, as they are with us. Removing a station would have a cascading effect, negatively impacting operations. So these are rings that are overlaid by all of the nearest fire stations. The red ring is us, and it shows that over Chesterfield Township, each ring has a 2-mile radius, 4-mile diameter. It shows that we really don't get touched that well by our mutual aid partners. And our station is geographically central to Chesterfield. This creates this interwoven web that I was talking about, where you can think of northern Burlington County as basically one large fire department where we each contribute about 1 piece of apparatus, because that's all we really have. The NFPA recommendation is 15 to 17 firefighters for a low hazard residential fire. So for that, we need to get to, at least 3 engines, a ladder, and a rescue dispatch on initial. So we're not gonna be able to get that out of any one station. So could we apply for a SAFER grant? I don't think that would be a viable option. SAFER, if awarded, requires a cost share that would require further use of fund balance. And also in 2024, there was only 7 hiring awards issued in New Jersey, so it's also highly competitive. The cost share for year 1 is 25%. For year 2 is 25%, and then year 3 is 65%. At the end of this, we'd be in the same decision point with fewer funds. And we also couldn't pass the levy cap referendum this year and apply for grant funding to offset, because I don't think that's actually allowed within SAFER. But more importantly, if the levy cap referendum were to pass, the funds that we're asking for have to be expended, or else they would have to go out of our 2027 budget. Click. Could we hire only one firefighter? Hiring only one firefighter at best represents an incomplete solution. Our request for additional funds is driven by the need to curtail excessive overtime, improve schedule predictability, enhance employee safety, and protect the health of our personnel. A single additional hire would not sufficiently address these issues. And in fact, it could create a condition in which one shift is disproportionately negatively affected. Click. So how do we compare to other towns? This spreadsheet lists all the fire districts in Burlington County that have 24-hour coverage. We're at the top there. That is our 2025 tax rate. And you can see by far we were the lowest. If you then compared what we're asking for in 2026, you can go back to that one if you can. It's not a big deal. That green figure, that's what we're asking for in 2026. And even comparing our this year numbers to their last year numbers, we're still in the bottom 50%. And we do our best to keep taxes as low as possible. Click. And what kind of work have we done to keep taxes down? We apply for grants ad nauseum, and we try to get as much as we can from wherever we can that's not the taxpayer. In 2014, like I said before, the SAFER grant, which was about $57,000. 2019, we got a LEAP grant, which was to fund the consolidation, was $59,000. In 2022, we had the CARES Act grant, which was $44,000 that helped fund salaries during COVID. We received a $26,000 American Rescue Plan grant from the state for purchasing protective gear, which we were able to replace a number of sets. We also received the same grant in 2024. We were able to buy a gear extractor and additional sets of PPE. And then we just participated in a joint AFG grant with Bordentown Township fire districts, which we collectively received $462,000 to replace all of our self-contained breathing apparatus. So that would not be an expense that our taxpayers would be directly responsible for. Other ways we save money is our firehouse is actually owned by the volunteer fire company, and it's maintained by the funds that are within the volunteer fire company, which fundraising is the primary revenue source for that. So every dollar earned through fundraising is one that doesn't have to be expended by the taxpayer to upkeep the firehouse. We also have a low executive footprint. I work part-time here and handle all of the payroll and human resources and all of those types of concerns. Operationally, I'm on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but administratively, I'm part-time. A similar position full-time would be with a benefits package well in excess of $200,000, and I'm way lower than that. We also reduced our redundancy in apparatus. We removed and surplused 4 vehicles, and we've had no capital expenses for the past 3 years. So what's the return on taxpayer investment? You get an immediate response from trained firefighter EMTs to all hazards, including fire suppression, rescue, motor vehicle rescue, rope rescue, ice rescue, grain bin rescue. You also get emergency medical services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in a first response capacity, and community engagement. So can you click on, yes, click on the video. Less than a year from instituting 24-hour coverage, we were dispatched for a house fire with victims trapped. This was on a Sunday, which previous to these hours weren't completely staffed. Luckily, the police were able to help the victim out, but our career staff arrived within 5 minutes and extinguished the fire within the incipient stage. It's very small before it could grow in size.
A dwelling reported victims trapped, upper response shelter. 2612, the resident was reporting a fire within the basement. Police have her out of the house now.
You have to come off the video. Just move, yeah, move the cursor off the video. Now click. There you go. So another return on investment on a Sunday morning in 2025, we were dispatched to a medical incident. Our fire district responds to medical incidents that are ALS, which is advanced life support, or if the ambulance is not available. And it was found that there was a person in cardiac arrest. We assisted with CPR, and we had got there within 5 minutes of dispatch, and the victim was successfully resuscitated and is still alive today. And for the sake of time, we won't play this video, but in September 2025, we were dispatched to report a house fire in Crosswicks at 6:22 a.m. prior to 2023. These hours weren't completely staffed. Our career staff arrived within 7 minutes, and we found another small fire and was able to extinguish it while still in that stage. Click. Not on the video, otherwise it'll play. You click again. Click again. Click again. Click again. And that's the end of my presentation. 25 minutes on the dot.
Yeah, I appreciate you moving through it quickly. I know I have a couple questions, but Denise, Rucci, Jeremy, if you guys have any, I'm more than happy to let you guys kick it off.
I'll start off with the healthcare. You said 100,000 for new hires?
This for the new hires.
Just for new hires, and 168 for,
For additional, to fund additionally what we already have, the 10 firefighters already on staff.
$268,000 increase in healthcare.
Correct.
I don't have anything right now. Thank you.
I do have a question, Chief. I know you did mention that the SAFER grant is one of the options which has been explored already. Are there any other state, county, or regional?
I'm not, there's no county grants or regional grants. I'm not aware of any state grants for hiring firefighters as well.
And I just have one more question. So would the fire department be able to share metrics with the public after the referendum, say on outcomes or response times, etc.?
Absolutely.
And how frequently do you think?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be able to share that information.
Can you explain how the partnership with our surrounding towns works exactly with us responding to incidents in their towns and them responding to incidents in our town?
Yes. So basically, we're all part of the Burlington County Mutual Aid Agreement and a further state mutual aid agreement. Generally speaking, the calls that we would respond to would start at like a low hazard call, like an alarm system or something like that. But even though they're low hazard, alarm systems have to be treated as if they're activating for their intended reason, which is a fire. So it doesn't warrant necessarily the 3 engines, a ladder, and a rescue that I had spoke about previously. But generally, for a residence, it would be like a 1-in-1 response, which means 2 apparatus. And for a commercial building, there would probably be 3 apparatus. So currently, if say your alarm system went off, we would respond in addition to one of our mutual aid partners, most likely Bordentown Fire District number 2. Conversely, if an alarm system goes off in their town, they're going to respond. And if it's a commercial fire alarm, then generally we'll respond in addition to them and their partner fire district, District 1. When it comes to structure fires, it gets a little bit more intense because now you're trying to draw in on the initial dispatch at least five pieces of apparatus, and all of our stations and all of the towns surrounding here can only reliably respond with 1. So for a fire incident, you could be having 3-4 communities sending their equipment. And then when it's confirmed, you're getting 2 more pieces. So it very quickly strips out the resources. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Do you have, I know in, I think 2023, there was the number of incidents in your PowerPoint. Do you have the number of incidents from last year, inclusive of all of our surrounding towns and then just Chesterfield?
I don't have it on hand breaking out individual towns. I do have that we ran 691 calls. Last year, 361 were in Chesterfield. I will say from running numbers in previous years, it's generally between 50 to 60% of our calls are in Chesterfield, and the remaining 40 are mutual aid of some sort.
Helpful to know. So it's my understanding with the 2% referendum, when you go above the 2%, you have to identify specifically what you're looking for above that 2%.
That is
So it's
correct.
my understanding that that's the increase in health benefits and then the hiring of 2 new firefighters.
Correct.
Did you look at the rest of your budget? Is there anything else that could be cut from under that 2% that could possibly keep that within the 2% as well?
Unfortunately, we were running right up to basically the wire on all areas of the budget, so we really couldn't reduce any of the other areas to increase that. We actually used the allowable increases we had to increase our repairs and maintenance because we have experienced some increased repair costs due to rising labor as well as parts.
There's nothing else, no other area in your budget that could be cut.
No, we actually just did our budget transfers at the last meeting, and it was down to the wire.
In order to get to this point, to go for referendum to approve your budget, has your department taken a vote on the proposed budget as it currently stands?
The Board of Fire Commissioners, yes, they have to take a vote in order to introduce and adopt the budget.
Was that a unanimous vote?
The budget introduction was 3/5, and then the budget adoption was unanimous.
I'm almost done. I know 2 years ago we went to referendum. I understand you went into detail, and I appreciate your presentation. I think you provided a lot of really helpful information. Are you looking out 5 years from now? Is there a 5-year plan? Are we going to be back in this situation 2 years from now?
No, we won't be in this situation 2 years from now. I believe this will fix the structural deficiency that we're experiencing and will give us long-term sustainability.
Is there a 5-year plan?
There is no existing paperwork of a 5-year plan, no.
And you budget, it's year to year that you budget?
We budget year to year, correct. The only thing we would look forward to is capital, but we're still in the process of developing the capital plan.
I think that's all my questions.
Are you guys in the state health plan?
We are in state health benefits.
Outside of state health?
We have not. We actually just had a conversation when I was setting up the stuff about looking outside, but to this date, we have no actual concrete of looking outside state health benefits. But that is definitely something we will look into in the future because it's becoming, I've used the term a lot in this presentation, but unsustainable.
I don't know if you want to send that.
We discussed it earlier when he was doing his dry run. You had a prior presentation, right? I don't want, please don't say the name of it.
Yeah, in my other profession, yes, I've had some experience with the plan that you guys were discussing.
I mean, like I said, I appreciate you coming. I appreciate all the information. I know we're in a very challenging fiscal environment with health benefits, with everything, increasing in costs. I'm hearing from a lot of residents who are very, very concerned about this. And I hear what you're saying that, your tax rate is competitive when you compare it to other towns, but our taxes in Chesterfield are not competitive.
And
We're
I
at the
completely
top of
understand.
everything. And it's very, very difficult. We're under a lot of pressure as a committee not to increase taxes. And, we're going to be working very, very hard not to increase our small municipal portion, that it just makes it very, very difficult.
I will say the Board of Fire Commissioners does also not take increasing taxes very lightly. And we've tried everything within our power in order to keep it from happening. But unfortunately, we took a look at the reality of the situation, and this is the best path forward.
If nobody else here has anything else, I'd like to move into public comment and give our public an opportunity to ask questions.
Move we open public comment.
Second.
Okay, anybody interested in talking, just please start with your name and address. You have 3 minutes. I don't know where you want to.
Over there. And musical chairs today.
Hi, Dawn Donahue, 7 Young Borntown, Chesterfield Road. Were you the chief when we went to the last referendum?
Yes.
Okay, I think I had a discussion with you and asked you why you guys aren't bringing anything to the table. You don't do a pancake breakfast. You don't rent it out for parties or weddings. You don't do flower sales. You do nothing. You just come with your hand out. And I said that at the last conversation we had. And you're like, okay, we'll look at it. But I feel like Rebecca said, you don't have a plan in place, and we're going to be back in this situation. And there's a lot of people in town I've been talking to that have come to the conclusion, go shared services, because we're at that point now where it's like, I just heard we had a fire in the new development. The EMTs were there first. And I think Hamilton was there first. Like, is this what we're paying for? And again, I'm not one that is downing firefighters because I deal with Burlington Township a lot. There are other towns. I noticed you had Evesham up there. You didn't have Burlington Township, which you should have because they're closer. Burlington Township has 3 fire departments. Bordentown has numerous fire departments. And even Jacobstown, they have fire. They have like flower sales. Like they do stuff to do it. And I've said to the committee in an email, I'd be more apt to look at this referendum and say, okay, if you guys came to the table and said, this is what we have done. This is what we're providing. This is what we're trying to do. And you sit here and show a thing saying return on investment. No offense. I'll say it again. Department of Public Works means nothing to me. You guys have never responded to my house ever. So it's like, I don't get a return on investment. And yet you want to sit here and say, there's elderly people in this town that are on fixed incomes. You're like, oh, it's only $21 a month. That's a lot of money. Like you guys may think it's not, but it is a lot of money. And it's very hard to sit here and keep seeing our taxes go up and up. We are the #1 in Burlington County for the highest rate of taxes. And I say it, I live on a county road. I reap no benefits from anything, basically. Police, yes. Department of Public Works, no. Fire, never had you guys out. It's like, I just don't understand it. I see other towns doing things to raise funds to help with the taxpayers. And then it's like you guys, when you guys consolidated, handout. Now we're back at it again, handout. I mean, I got married at the Crosswicks Fire Company. They rented it out. They had pancake breakfasts. Like you guys do nothing of that. And I don't think it's fair to the residents to come and say, we're just putting our hand out. We've got nothing to show for it. Like you guys have got it. And listen, I get it. You guys put your lives on the line and I thank you for your service. But again, at the end of the day, that doesn't help the taxpayers. And I think I said that to you last time that you guys have to come to the table with something. And I just feel like nobody is doing it. And I've talked to a lot of residents and they're pissed. They are mad. And I'm sure Rebecca's gotten some emails, but a lot of them are telling me like, this is unfair. Like, I had one lady ask me, an older lady, what are they doing? And I'm like, I don't know. She's like, well, what do they do when they're not on call? I said, probably lifting weights or something. I don't know. So.
I reply?
If you'd like to, yeah.
Okay. I do remember speaking with you, Dawn. I actually reviewed your email when I was preparing all this. To answer some of your questions, there's a lot to unpack there, but we can't fundraise for salaries. We do fundraise for building maintenance, which is not covered by the taxpayers. The Chesterfield Township Fire Department owns that building, and like the chicken barbecue fundraisers that we hold, that goes to maintaining the building. And the other thing else we do goes to maintaining the building, and then that cost is not passed on to the taxpayers. But as I said, as far as salaries, we can't fundraise for that. I'm not sure which call you were talking about in the development. I'll be happy to take a look at it. It could be we were already on another assignment, but if the firefighters are in the station, they are anywhere in town within minutes. Specifically referencing Burlington Township in the presentation, those were fire districts that provide 24-hour career coverage. That's why the comparison was made directly with those and not Burlington Township. I think I hit a lot of the points.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
Sorry? Okay. Can you hear me now? RG Laird, 84 Sykesville Road. Good. I just wanted to ask a few questions about the fund balance. If this referendum doesn't go through, is there funds in the fund balance to cover that $380-some thousand?
So it wouldn't be covering the $380-some thousand. It would be the $188,000 because we wouldn't be adding on the 2 firefighters.
Okay.
There is money to cover that. We want to avoid depleting it because we're going to run out in successive years.
Gotcha. And then the thought process is we hired 2 new firefighters at the cost of $100-some thousand. The intent is that would offset the $67 or so thousand in overtime.
So there would still be the 60,000 around there overtime that's built in, that's mandated by FLSA. it would allow us to better schedule and staff that we don't need to bring in anybody on overtime when somebody is off, because we could drop to a minimum staffing of 3. So it would eliminate our overrun that we experienced and bring us down below our existing overtime budget.
Okay, and the overrun was about 70,
The overrun was about $100,000.
100,000 overrun on top of the
Correct.
69 built-in hours per guy.
Correct.
Okay. Really, the issue I have is I'm not a fan of taxes. I don't think
Neither am
anybody
I.
is. I'm just concerned that the timing isn't great with this, but the fact of taxes are going up across the board everywhere. The health insurance going up. I got a raise this year, taking home less money. Electricity costs are double. And I do believe that the contract for the union is up at the end of the year. So I wanted to suggest the possibility of looking into this as something that can be slated for 2027, and maybe using these 2 new hires to expand to having 4 platoons of 3 people to then reduce the number of mandatory overtime hours that's built into the schedule per position. That was going to be my suggestion. And the second thing, I didn't get a chance to really pick apart the budget completely, but under the salary guide where we listed the numbers of price per person, I think there were some discrepancies on the rates for like firefighter 4 and what the annual salary was. I think you actually under budgeted for that. So I would just suggest taking a look at that, please.
Okay, and answering the 4 platoon question, if the referendum doesn't pass, then we're not adding the 2 firefighters. So we'd still be at 10, where we have to kind of get rid of any discretionary overtime. Really, our only discretionary overtime would be overtime to spend on training. And going to a 4 platoon system would require, if we did it with the 2 firefighters that were coming in with 12 firefighters, then we'd kind of be in the same position. We would eliminate the FLSA required overtime. However, anytime anybody is out, that would have to be overtime, because we have to stay at a minimum staffing of 3 in order to have 1 person operate the pump and 2 people be able to pull the hose line. If we were to do the same thing with a 4 platoon system, it would require us to hire 6 firefighters to get to 16, to have 4 platoons of 4. And they, I forget the exact number of hours that a 4 platoon system works, but it is under the FLSA cap, so that overtime be reduced. So then it'd be a study of whether,
Right, it's whether or
which
not
pot
hours
is more
rate,
full.
depending on, the seniority, where the cost benefit's going to be, which if you have now potentially 3 people operating at the lower step levels, you're looking at, maybe a 40% cost saving on the rate per hour at the time and a half rate.
But either one of those solutions would require us to hire the 2 firefighters, which we would need the levy cap referendum to do.
I like that idea. I'm just thinking 27 and doing it.
Correct.
as a platoon thing. That'd be my suggestion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jeremy Moran, Harker Road. My question is, we have an ambulance squad, EMT squad. The response is horrible. Could we combine the fire department with the ambulance squad and get rid of what we pay for the ambulance squad?
I don't know if I'm prepared to answer that right now. Theoretically, yes, we could combine the ambulance in. I don't know the exact mechanism in which a fire district could take that, but I don't know what the cost would be either. So I don't really have an answer for that right now.
Correct me if I'm wrong, we're paying $200,000 to $300,000 for the EMTs?
It's something we've had conversations about and have started to look into on our end of things as well. And I would appreciate, Chief, if you are able to look into that and provide any information.
Yeah, I mean,
We did in the past.
yeah, and we can have conversations in the future as well on that. Just, thinking purely theoretical right now, if we were to do that, I think we would need like 6 additional staff members. So we have 2 people riding the ambulance. It'd be less than the number of staff if you were to do it outside of a fire department, because we can do 24-hour staffing. A EMS service can't do 24-hour staffing standing alone. But we also have a statutory obligation to ensure fire protection, so I wouldn't want to choose one or the other.
Larry Durr, Old York Road, Chesterfield. Thank you, Ryan, for your service. Thank the volunteers that you have left. I just have a couple questions. On your insurance, it seems like an absorbent amount you're paying. I think the question was already asked. Have you considered other suppliers?
We are considering that now. There hasn't been like a concrete consideration in the past, but experiencing the fiscal growth that we're seeing out of it, yes, we are going to look at other options.
I would like to suggest maybe you should consider concrete choices. And the next question on the insurance, what percentage of the insurance cost do the employees pay?
They pay from year, let me look, just make sure I'm giving you accurate information. Give me 1 second. So year 0 through 4, they pay 8% of their plan premium. In years 5,
What was that?
year 0 through 4, they pay 8% of their plan premium. And year 5 plus, they pay 12% of their plan premium.
Compared to towns of our size, is that normal?
I don't have that information right now. I could look at other contracts and see.
I'd like to suggest that you do. Your list of other towns in Burlington County that have 24-hour service, that's fine, but there's none that are comparable in size and demographics with Chesterfield.
I mean, rateable comparison, if you're speaking about individual districts, like District 1 in Bordentown is a comparable as far as the value of ratables. They actually have a little bit less than Chesterfield. Their tax rate was way higher than what we're paying right now.
But the demographics are certainly not the same.
Yeah, it's going to be, Chesterfield is a very unique town, and it'll be difficult to get a true comparison.
But I am a little bit familiar with, it's not a Burlington County town, but it's a, whatever New Egypt might be. And they pay considerably more out of the employees' checks for their insurance. I mean, school teachers, since Governor Christie was in, pay considerable more for their insurance than what we're suggesting. 5% of 1,000 is not so bad, but 5% of 100,000, that's a lot of money.
Correct.
The other question, you mentioned that to fill the overtime, it's a built-in overtime thing.
Correct.
Have you considered per diem?
We have considered the use of per diems. Unfortunately, it then runs into a logistical issue of having enough per diems on hand to not make them into full-time firefighters inadvertently by the number of hours that they're working, because we work 24-hour shifts, and having them available. Plus, the full-time firefighters we have better control of their quality in their training, and also we have sorry, I just had a thought and it went right out of my mind. Mostly it's about the amount of hours they can work and maintaining an adequate number. And we also have within the collective bargaining agreement that you have to maintain a certain number of career firefighters as well.
I'd just like to suggest, if we're talking about hiring 2 additional firefighters, perhaps, and I don't know if they're per diem, substitute, whatever you want to call them, might be, maybe they're not available. I don't know. But certainly when we look at these benefits, and we're paying more benefits than we're paying for salary, certainly we could cut the bill in half.
It adds a lot more unpredictability in maintaining the system in that regard.
I'd like to see you consider it.
We'll definitely consider it, and we do use per diems for certain instances to cover things as of right now.
Next, your equipment that you have 3 pieces of firefighter apparatus and 4 or 5 or 6. I don't know what you do with all the cars and trucks that you have, but that's not really my concern. My question is, when is the next piece of fire apparatus going to be replaced?
So the next piece that would be replaced would be the pumper tanker, which is a 1997, and we're in the process, the beginning of the process of looking at its replacement. So I don't have a exact year that we're going to do it, but it will be on the horizon.
And what would you expect at today's cost,
I'm not entirely sure. I'll be honest with you, because the pumper
Not to
tanker,
hold you to it, would you have a guess? Are we talking about 500,000, $1 million, $2 million?
we got a quote a few years ago of 825,000. I imagine that'd probably be around $1 million.
Okay. And how would we pay for that?
That would more than likely be bonded.
What would that do to your budget?
I don't have the answer to that right now.
Where I'm going, or should we expect that we're going to have another question, another referendum in the near future to replace that vehicle?
It will not be this year, will not be next year, but at some point there will be a question about replacing that vehicle.
And I'm sure it was already expressed, taxes are tough. A lot of people are having a lot of problems paying taxes. The next question, what is your policy? They work 24-hour shifts.
Correct.
As far as leaving the township on non-fire calls.
As long as they're going to like a contiguous town for a purpose, then they are allowed to go.
What would be a purpose that would be permissible?
They often go to Bordentown Fire District number 2 and they train there. They go to Bordentown Fire District number 1, they train there.
So for training.
While they're in Bordentown, they occasionally go to like Aldi and purchase food, but that would be, or to be the only reason to leave town.
How about the ShopRite?
In which town? I don't.
Bordentown Township, up, well, what I call it used to be Two Guys, but that's long, long ago. Bradley's, that, where.
It's not expressly forbidden, but I don't think that they often go there.
So if they did go there, what would be the procedure? One man would go there to get groceries for whatever purpose, or?
So on the 4-man shift, one man would be able to go, but unfortunately we have to keep our crew together. So all 3 would be required to go so they can respond immediately to any calls for service.
So 4 people would take the apparatus
3.
in the day?
I need a specific reference.
Excuse me, I asked my wife, what was the date? January 23rd? At 3:23?
They are permitted to go to get food if that's.
Okay,
what they're doing.
I'll just get right to the thing, and I'm sure you're gonna have to look into this. I should have brought this up to you personally. On January 23rd, we witnessed the fire truck parked outside of the Bradleys, or not the Bradleys, it's ShopRite. Jury says I sat there for 20 minutes and waited for 4 people to come out of the ShopRite with their groceries and get in the apparatus. The apparatus sat there, and I considered moving the truck myself, unattended.
Well, that is a concern. That is definitely something I will look into.
I appreciate it. And just to add insult to injury, they left the ShopRite. I followed them for 6 miles to get back to Chesterfield. They stopped at the 7-Eleven next for 10 minutes in Bordentown.
Well, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I'll definitely look into it.
Again, thank you for your service. Thank you all for your service. But I just feel like enough is enough. And the other gentleman mentioned the ambulance. That was on my list of things too. And that's something I think the Township Committee should be considering. If they want to hire more help, maybe there's a way to combine efforts. Because I thank you for having this meeting, but I kind of think this meeting's a little premature. You're going to need to have this meeting if the budget's is defeated. So
Actually, if the budget's defeated, I'm sorry, I should have this in
if the
presentation.
budget's defeated, you're going to be back here begging for money.
No, if the budget's defeated, we submit a budget within 2% to the state, and then that would be approved.
Well, then, are you saying you're prepared to present a budget with the 2%?
We would need to prepare a budget.
And you're prepared to do that?
If we had to do that, we would be required to by state law. But that would not be the ideal situation. It would require us to use $188,000 in fund balance.
I suggest if anyone has problems with the budget, maybe if you're prepared to present one that's going to meet the cap, I don't understand why we're here.
If we present a 2% budget that meets the cap, we're going to use $188,000 in fund balance to do it. And that fund balance use is only going to grow. So that's why we're here.
Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to come up? Seeing none, is there anybody online who would like to speak?
Does not appear so.
Seeing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Favor?
Aye.
No executive session. Just before we adjourn and move into our regular evening again, thank you for coming.
No problem. I'm
If
happy to come.
anybody online in the audience and the public has any follow-up questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I now have the chief's cell phone number. I can reach out to him and call him, but get answers and make sure that everybody's comfortable moving forward.
I'm going to post this presentation online as well and put up like kind of like a Google form for questions so I can
So
answer them as well.
you'll put up a way that people can reach you directly?
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask for a motion to adjourn?
So second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Take a 5-minute break and then we'll move into our regular meeting.